You ever see those headlines where it seems like central banks are just pumping billions of dollars into the economy, but nothing really changes? It's a huge puzzle, right? Well, the answer might come from the legendary economist John Maynard Keynes. So, let's dive into this wild idea he called the liquidity trap.
It really all boils down to this one big question. You see, interest rates hit practically zero, and then they just get stuck there. It feels weird, you know? It's like you're flooring the gas pedal in a car, but it just won't go any faster. Keynes's theory is what helps us understand why that happens. All right, to really wrap our heads around this, we got to think about interest rates in a pretty specific way. Keynes said, hey, just think of an interest rate as the price of money. It's the price you pay to borrow it or what you earn for lending it. And just like the price of anything, it all comes down to good old supply and demand.
So you've got two sides to this coin. On one hand, there's the supply of money. That's basically set by the country's central bank. On the other hand, you've got the demand for money. Keynes had a fancy name for this, liquidity preference, but all that really means is how much cold, hard cash do we, the public, actually want to hold on to? The interest rate is simply the point where those two forces balance out.
And what's so fascinating is the difference between the two. The money supply? That's a top-down decision made by one big institution. But the demand for it? Oh, that's completely bottom-up. It's the sum of millions of individual choices that you and I and everyone else make, based on our own needs, our fears, and our hopes.
Okay, so if demand is all about us, why do we want to hold cash in the first place? I mean, instead of investing it or something. Well, Keynes was brilliant here. He didn't just say, because people want it. He broke it down into three really clear, logical reasons. First up is the transactions motive. Super simple. This is the cash you need for daily life, groceries, gas, paying the bills. Next, you've got the precautionary motive. This is your emergency fund, right? For that surprise car repair or a sudden doctor's visit. But this third one, the speculative motive. This is the real game changer. This is when you hold cash because you're basically betting on the future, waiting for a better time to invest, or trying to avoid taking a big loss.
And this leads us to two totally different types of money. The money we hold for daily stuff and emergencies, that's active. Think of it like blood circulating through the economy. It's moving, it's working. But the money we hold for speculative reasons, that becomes idle. It's just sitting there, hoarded on the sidelines. It's not doing anything. And right there, that's where the trouble begins.
So let's zoom in on that speculative motive, because it is so important. It all comes down to a choice. Hold on to your cash or do something else with it, like buying a bond. And Keynes explained this decision with a perfect, simple analogy: a seesaw.
Now this right here, this is the golden rule for this whole explainer. If you get this, you get everything. All it means is that when interest rates go up, the price of bonds that are already out there goes down. And when interest rates go down, bond prices go up. They always move in opposite directions. Always.
Let's walk through it. Imagine interest rates are really high. That means any new bonds being sold are offering a fantastic payout. So those older bonds with lower payouts, they suddenly look kind of boring, so their price drops. Now, if you're an investor, your eyes light up. You see cheap bonds and you think their price is bound to go up later. So what do? You spend your cash and buy bonds.
But what about the other side of the seesaw? What if interest rates are scraping the floor, basically at zero? Well, that means bond prices are sky high. Now, everyone is looking at this and thinking the exact same thing. Rates can't really go any lower, they can only go up from here. And if rates go up, the value of my super expensive bond is going to crash. So, why would I risk that? I'm just going to hold on to my cash. It's safe. And that behavior, that collective decision to just sit on cash because bonds feel way too risky, that is what leads us straight into the main event, the liquidity trap. This is the moment where all the pieces, the price of money, the reasons for holding cash, that bond seesaw, all of it just snaps together.
So a liquidity trap is basically a situation where everyone is so afraid of losing money on investments that they'd rather just do nothing. They'd rather hold cash. The central bank can be pumping out new money like there's no tomorrow, but it doesn't matter. People just take that money and stuff it under a mattress, metaphorically speaking. The desire for cash becomes like a black hole that just swallows up any new money.
Let's trace the chain reaction here. It starts with interest rates near zero. Because of that, everyone expects they have to go up eventually, which means bond prices will fall. To avoid that loss, people start hoarding cash like crazy. Now, the central bank tries to fix this by pumping more money into the system, but, and this is the absolute key, that new money just gets sucked right into those idle, hoarded piles of cash. The result? Zip, nada. The interest rate doesn't move, it's stuck.
This visual just says it all, doesn't it?
On one side, you see this massive action by the central bank. They're flooding the system with money. But the effect on the other side? Barely a flicker. They're pushing on a string. The policy tool is essentially broken.
Now, this isn't just some abstract theory you find in a dusty textbook. This has massive real-world implications. So let's talk about why it matters so much. What happens when a central bank's most powerful tool just stops working?
The bottom line is pretty stark, really. When you're in a liquidity trap, the central bank is basically on the sidelines. It loses its main power to get the economy going. It can't lower rates to encourage businesses to borrow and build, or to get people spending. The normal engine for economic growth has completely stalled out.
But Keynes wasn't just about identifying problems, he offered a way out. He argued that if monetary policy, controlling the money supply, is a dead end, you have to switch toolkits. The government itself has to step in with what's called fiscal policy. That can mean increasing government spending on things like infrastructure to create jobs and demand directly, or it could mean cutting taxes to put more money in people's pockets, hoping they'll go out and spend it.
And this leaves us with a huge question that is just as relevant today as it was in Keynes's time. When the central bank's power is faded, and just creating more money isn't the answer, what's the right move for a stuck economy? Well, that is the multi-trillion-dollar question that policymakers all over the world are still debating.